और मैं टोटली आज मैं एजुकेशन के बारे में बताऊंगा। यूके में कैसा एजुकेशन होता है और इस जो करंट सिचुएशन चल रहा है यूके में आप कैसे ऑनलाइन क्लास लेते हैं। तो मैं आपको यहाँ पर लाइव मैं दिखाऊंगा कैसे मैं ऑनलाइन क्लास लेता हूँ और कब कब मैं लेता हूँ, कितना मैं क्लास ले लिया हूँ। तो मैं ये सब चीज़ें मैं आपको पूरा मैं डीपली में बताऊंगा कितना आवर्स पर वीक में क्लास लेता हूँ ऑनलाइन सेशन। तो फ्रेंड, अभी तक आपने मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया तो सब्सक्राइब कर देना और बेल आइकन पर क्लिक कर देना ताकि जैसे को मैं वीडियो डालूँ आपके पास नोटिफिकेशन पहुंच जाए और मेरे वीडियो आसानी से वॉच करें। तो फ्रेंड चलिए चलते में आपको बताते हैं इस पॉइंट पर कि अगर आप यूके में स्टडी करना चाहते हैं या यूके में प्रेजेंट टाइम है तो ऑनलाइन क्लास आप कैसे ले सकते हैं। तो जहाँ तक कि मैं जो ऑनलाइन क्लास लेता हूँ मैं लैपटॉप से लेता हूँ। मेरे पास एक लैपटॉप है और जो लैपटॉप है Asus कंपनी का है। उतना इसमें रैम रैम नहीं है। इतना उसमें रैम नहीं है तो इसकी वजह से मैं लैपटॉप में चेंज करने वाला हूँ। तो मैं यहाँ पर आपको मैं सारा चीज़ मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा यहाँ पर। तो ये मेरा लैपटॉप है और मैं यहाँ पर और ये मेरा क्लास चल रहा है ऑनलाइन।
We're in the router. Where would you do it here then?
Okay, if you go to the CLI,
ये जो कंप्यूटर में जो पॉकेट जो
and
ट्रेस,
you double enter.
अगर आप ये सॉफ्टवेयर का नॉलेज जो लेना आप चाहते हैं, पॉकेट ट्रेसर होता है, आप गूगल से इसको आप डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं और आसानी से आप इसको सीख सकते हैं, सेल्फ स्टडी आप कर सकते हैं। जो पॉकेट जो ट्रेसर होता है क्या होता है कि जो इसका जो डाटा जो ट्रांसफ़र करते हैं, जो इंटरनल जो वर्किंग होता है, यहाँ पर आपको दिखता होगा राउटर किसको बोलते हैं, P1 और PC क्या होता है। तो यहाँ पर अगर ये आपको ये जो कोडिंग इसमें पड़ता है, अगर कोडिंग आपका रन हो गया तो आपका ये फार्मूला आपका डन हो गया। तो आप किसी भी कोई मशीन में आप इसको रन करा सकते हैं। राउटर क्या होता है, तो अगर आप देखना चाहते हैं इस वीडियो को तो आप लाइव में जुड़े रहिए। और ये वीडियो आई थिंक 2 आवर्स का है बट मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा 1 आवर।
Yeah.
No, not in the beginning, at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, enter.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So as
ये
it is
जितने
saying, we need
स्टूडेंट
to
हैं यहाँ पर,
first
तो जब
enable.
स्टूडेंट ज्वाइन करते हैं
If you
तो
do
यहाँ पर
enable,
ये
so
स्टूडेंट हैं, कुछ
ENABLE.
स्टूडेंट अपना फेस दिखा रहे हैं बट मैं
What the
यहाँ
enable is
पर
doing, it's very
मेरा
important,
फेस नहीं
guys.
दिखेगा क्योंकि
Please
मैं अपना
follow
फेस
all
हाइड
the
किया हूँ।
instructions. So enable is allowing you to go from the simple user to the router user, okay, with the hashtag. So if you have hashtag near the name of your host, this means that you are the main user. Now we will access the configuration as we've done last week. So config.
Config, just config, yeah.
Config space. No. Yes. It should be config space terminal. Click enter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So enter in here means yes. Okay. I am configuring as terminal configuration.
Okay.
So we are now RTA config between brackets means we are in the configuration mode.
Okay.
So how we will do the password. So first of all, you have done already the host name, which is fine. Now you do the enable secret. Enable
secret.
Secret, yeah, SECRET. Yeah. Then you put any password you want. For example, it's saying Cisco ENPA55.
Yeah. press enter, yeah.
Hmm?
With input detected.
Enable is written in gray.
Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Files. Key doesn't work properly. Oh, right to the end, that's not going to work. Oh, what's it doing? There we go. Okay, right, enter. Does that work then?
I've missed 1-5, but that's fine. Is it 5-5?
It's just 5.5, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is for the enable secret. Then, to settle the password, we need to access the
तो फ्रेंड ये मेरा जो क्लास चल रहा है नेटवर्क का जो क्लास होता है, नेटवर्किंग का, डाटा नेटवर्किंग का क्लास चल रहा है। और मैं यहाँ पर मैं खुद एक कोड में बनाया हूँ और मैं इसको अभी मैं जो सेंसर में जो कोड पड़ता है, अगर कोई रोबोट हो तो उसके अंदर कैसे हम उसको रनिंग कराते हैं, तो उसके लिए मैंने यूज किया, मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूँ।
and virtual line. So line space on space 0. Okay. Enter. Yeah, now we are in the line. So now we will set up the password. So you
तो
write password.
ये जो मैंने अपने पास से मैंने जो बताया हूँ, इसमें सारा राउटर का जो थ्योरी होता है। तो मैंने यहाँ पर एक नोट बनाया हूँ, क्योंकि लेक्चर उतना समझ नहीं आता है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर कुछ बोलने का मौका नहीं मिलता है और सिर्फ सुनने का मौका मिलता है। तो गाइज मैंने खुद अपना एक नोटबुक बनाया, उतना ख़ास भी नहीं है। और मैं बाय वन यहाँ पर एक राउटर का जो फार्मूला होता है, अगर आप पॉकेट ट्रेसर अगर आपके बारे में नॉलेज है, तो अगर यहाँ पर आप जो राउटर पहले सिलेक्ट करेंगे, उसके बाद स्विच का ऑप्शन आता है, उसके बाद PC1 एंड PC2 आपको सिलेक्ट करना पड़ेगा। उसके बाद जाने के बाद वहाँ पर देम क्लिक करना पड़ेगा। यहाँ पर CLI जब प्रेस करेंगे तो वहाँ पर राउटर ऑटोमेटिकली आ जाएगा। और वहाँ पर एक कुछ राउटर हैज कॉन्फ़िगरेशन जो होता है, एक थोड़ा शॉर्ट में आपको लिखना पड़ेगा। उसके बाद आपको पूरा फुल फॉर्म में लिखना पड़ेगा कॉन्फ़िगर और टर्मिनल जो होता है। तो यहाँ पर इंटर कॉन्फ़िगरेशन एंड कमांड 1 पर लाइन एंड एंड द विच एंड CNTL अपॉन जेड, ये ऑटोमेटिकली ये फार्मूला आ जाता है। और जो राउटर का जो वर्किंग होता है, ये क्या होता है, जैसे आप कोई वायर ऐड करते हैं इनसाइड या आउटसाइड में, तो वो सही है या रॉन्ग है, वो इसका जो इथिकल जिसको बोलते हैं वो एक काम करता है। इथिकल क्या होता है, जो इथिकल का जो वर्किंग होता है कि वो आपको बताता है कि आप रॉन्ग जा रहे हैं या सही जा रहे हैं। तो और फ्रेंड जो सेकेंडली आपको मैं दिखाऊंगा कि जो मीटिंग जो चलता है, अगर कोई आपको प्रोजेक्ट मिलता है तो वो कैसे स्टूडेंट मीटिंग करते हैं, और वहाँ पर समथिंग कुछ फेस टू फेस मीटिंग हो रहा है, तो मैं वहाँ पर आपको दिखाने वाला हूँ। और
in the beginning. So Cisco ENPA 55.
Okay.
Sorry, Zainab, it's getting a bit too quick for me. Line 1, is that, did you say 1? Line 1, 0?
No, line con.
Okay.
Console.
Just-
Yeah, console line. Yeah, line CON space.
Line.
Okay, so this is for the password for the line console. So if you do login.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we will now go to the line virtual 04. So line space VTY
Why?
space 0 space 4. Okay, we will do the same story. We will set up the password, same password. You can do other passwords, that's fine, just to simplify the task.
Okay.
Password.
Password again.
Yeah, password and the same password. Yeah. And then log in.
यहाँ पर मैं इसको क्लोज करता हूँ और यहाँ पर कुछ मेरे जो फ्रेंड है वो जो मीटिंग करते हैं फॉर एनी प्रोजेक्ट जो यूनिवर्सिटी में जो मिली होती है जो प्रोजेक्ट करना है उसको फॉलो करना है तो उसमें क्या क्या इक्विपमेंट नेसेसरी है इनिशियल है और क्या नहीं है तो वहाँ पर आपको देखने के लिए मिलेगा। यहाँ पर जो ये जो प्रोजेक्ट दिख रहा है हम लोग फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में हम लोग बनाए थे और सेकेंडली क्या है 1 second my friend। तो अगर आप भी ऑनलाइन क्लास करते हैं तो ऐसे ही आपको देखने को मिलता है जो कि मैं सारा एवरीथिंग्स मैं आपको इस वीडियो में बताऊंगा। ये जो लाइन लॉन्चर क्या होता है तो लाइन लॉन्चर अगर आपको नहीं पता है तो प्लीज़ यह वीडियो आप देखेंगे तो पूरा आपको समझ आएगा और मैं यह वीडियो आपको 1 आवर का है और प्लीज़ आप इसको सेकेंड sorry for that where is video। sorry video is not up on this time some technical problems so 1 second my friend please some wait। ये मेरे मैथ के टीचर्स हैं।
Week after first, a normal if you cannot understand what I talk.
ये
So
मैकेनिकल
basically,
इंजीनियरिंग का क्लास चल रहा
algebraic,
है, यहाँ पर आप
if
देख
it's
सकते हैं।
vector, all the force, n force is just summation of vector f to f1 as a resultant force. Then we write this way. But this can be expressed in x directions and in y directions. Okay? And then the magnitude and angles same as a normal force. But you need to do these two equations first before you can do these two. If it's a force distance. I will show you when we use examples. For the polygons measured, let's see graphic. See, this is the algebra measure. Then polygon graphical measure is because any two forces. You know, remember last week we said if this is the F1, this is F2, then polygon measured is so we can add this one F2 from G, then this is polygon. So this triangle is also polygon. But in general, polygon is like this one. If you have three forces, F1, F2, F3 here, yeah, then we say F1, we have F1 here, then we have F2, so we move this one to join from the started F2 to join, then join F3 at same directions. Then you join the R resultant is from the starting point to the end point F3, you got the final one. So this is the final one. Okay.
तो फ्रेंड ये मेरा मैकेनिकल का क्लास था। तो ऐसे करके मैं आपको 4th सेशन में आपको दिखाऊंगा कौन कौन से क्लासेस चल रहे हैं लॉकडाउन में, ऑनलाइन क्लासेस। एक भी मैं प्रैक्टिकल क्लासेस नहीं लिया हूँ इस लॉकडाउन में, मैं सिर्फ। तो फ्रेंड आपको मैं दिखा रहा हूँ कि कैसे मैं क्लास लेता हूँ और कैसे नहीं, और मैं अभी तक एक भी ऑनलाइन प्रैक्टिकल क्लास मैंने अभी तक नहीं लिया। तो फ्रेंड मैं फिर से मैं आपको दूसरा मैं सेशन में आपको दिखाना चाहता हूँ। अभी तो मैं आपको कंप्यूटर नेटवर्किंग का मैं आपको दिखा दिया और मैकेनिकल का। अब नेक्स्ट सेशन में आपको दिखाने वाला हूँ सेंसर एक्चुएटर क्या होता है। सेंसर एक्चुएटर क्या होता है, ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से कुछ रिलेटेड जो होती हैं, इसको बोलते हैं सेंसर एक्चुएटर। जो मेथड होता है लाइक कोई आप पार्ट बनाते हैं ऑटोमेटिकली जो वर्किंग करता है, तो उसी के अकॉर्डिंग आप बनाते हैं। उसमें बहुत सारे, इसमें क्या क्या होता है, जो बहुत सारे कोडर जो होते हैं जो सॉफ्टवेयर का जो कंप्यूटर में बनाते हैं उसको डाटा से ट्रांसफ़र करते हैं, और वो जैसे तब वो मशीन रन कर लेती है। तो चलते हैं फ्रेंड, मैं आपको अगेन मैं दोबारा मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूँ। यहाँ पर कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं जो कि रिसेंटली मेरा मीटिंग का नहीं आ रहा है। फ्रेंड ये मेरे सुपरवाइजर हैं जो कि काफ़ी
Yes.
हेल्पफुल हैं।
Thinking about your potential kind of getting your first job placements, they're a really kind of useful tool. Really nice kind of ones there. So a good bond structure.
प्लीज़ ये जो मैं वीडियो दिखा रहा हूँ स्टडी का वीडियो है, और इसमें चल रहा है कि फ्यूचर प्लानिंग एक्टिविटीज़ क्या होती, एक्टिविटीज़ क्या है आपके फ्यूचर प्लानिंग। तो तो ये सब के बारे में आपको वीडियो में मैं दिखाऊंगा कि जो फ्यूचर प्लानिंग, प्लीज़ इस वीडियो को आप शुरू से एंड तक देखेंगे इस वीडियो को, तो आपको क्या क्या आपको फ्यूचर में करना है। अगर आप एक स्टडी इंजीनियरिंग का आप स्टूडेंट है, बैचलर का आप स्टूडेंट है या डिप्लोमा का, तो यह वीडियो काफ़ी लॉन्ग नहीं है, सिर्फ 48 का है। और प्लीज़ इस वीडियो को शुरू से एंड तक देखना, मैं आपको एक सारा मैं लाइव आपको दिखाऊंगा। और यहाँ पर कुछ स्टूडेंट वो टीचर से डिस्कस करेंगे कि कंपनी में क्या प्रोवाइड होती है, क्या नहीं, कैसे कैसे क्या होता है। ये सारा आपको कुछ प्रोटोटाइप जो होती है वो आपको दिखने के लिए मिलेगा। तो चलिए चलते हैं स्टार्ट।
Well, maybe if you're interested in some form of modelling, skills, competence, knowledge, competency. So let's say, for example, other people applying to the same job as you try to be, I mean, either within engineering or in other areas, there are transferable knowledge. To kind of come up with a portfolio, and there were. Okay, so you can be specific. As an engineer, what things would you demonstrate competency in? You try to do more than the people that. So let's say, for example, other people applying to SolidWorks. Yes. One of these kind of aspects. But throughout a course, you will develop knowledge of through the content that gets delivered.
यहाँ पर जो फ्रेंड आप इसके पहले जो मैंने वीडियो स्किप कर दिया, इसके पहले जो आप देख रहे थे नॉलेज और स्किल क्या होता है, तो नॉलेज और स्किल के बारे में आपको कभी भी कंपनी से जाने से पहले आपको ये सब चीज़ें आपको ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए कि नॉलेज और स्किल में डिफरेंस क्या होता है। तो इस वीडियो को शुरू से एंड देंगे तभी आपको समझ आएगा। इसमें क्या होता है कि अगर आप अप्रेंटिस गाइड जो होती है और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंजीनियर होते हैं, इसमें नॉलेज और डोमिनिस्ट्रेशन अंडरस्टैंडिंग। डोमिनिस्ट्रेशन क्या होता है कि आप कितना अंडरस्टैंडिंग है उस नॉलेज में, उस फील्ड में, उस स्किल में। तो यहाँ पर क्या होता है, जो मैथमेटिक्स एंड साइंस फॉर इंजीनियर, जिसको मैथमेटिक्स और साइंस आनी चाहिए, जो लोग इंजीनियर बनना चाहते हैं, बिकम इंजीनियर। मटेरियल एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, क्योंकि ये सब जो मटेरियल होता है एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होता है, इसका रिक्वायर होता है, जिसमें जिसमें आपको मैंडेटरी मैथमेटिक्स एंड साइंस आनी चाहिए।
Other areas, there are transferable knowledge and skills into engineering. You don't necessarily have to have experience within engineering in order to recognise those. But kind of framing it in that kind of, what knowledge do I have, what skills do I have, and how do I specifically present that in a interview or in information that I send. So the kind of manufacturing engineer one's quite specific about 3D computer-aided engineering, understanding of engineering operations, management, manufacturing processes. So they're looking for very key things to be presented, because the apprentices at the end of their 5 years or 6 years have to do a final presentation to get the apprenticeship award, and that is by demonstration that they've met all this knowledge, all these skills, and also behaviours. So again, you're kind of talking about other things when you talk about behaviours, and you're talking about kind of confidence. Let's have a quick look at what we had. We had obviously handsome, motivated, punctuality, ingenuity or communicate, passion, interest in the role or company. So again, they're kind of more towards the soft skills, which is how you behave or how you have interacted with people, how you come across in an interview. So that kind of, how have you demonstrated a strong work ethic? How have you demonstrated a logical approach? Application of knowledge within certain areas, acting as part of a team, communication, personal responsibility and resilience. So those kind of softer skills and behaviours which they're looking for as well. And I put this in here, it's quite a nice way, although it's kind of apprentice focused, it's still relevant to you in identifying in every module that you do, or every activity or project or placement that you do, what have you learned or what have you developed within the knowledge, the skills, and behaviours as well, because more and more kind of interview questions are framed around you as a person and how you behave and interact within the team, how you overcome challenges, how you attack problems, the way in which you do it. So more and more, the behaviours is a strong area of interviews when they're looking for people to fit within.
Yeah, David, is it worth pointing out that a lot of companies now are going down the route of competency-based interviews and using the sort of STAR approach to situation, task, action, result in all these areas like behaviour, skills, knowledge, and try and draw all these out in those types of interviews.
Yeah, I mean, the competency-based kind of activities is something we look at in level 5 as an example of kind of how employers go about finding the right people and the different types of assessment they might use to assess your competency in certain areas. Different organisations will have different methods. Some might have interview days and kind of competency days, thorough selection processes, which will kind of look at the different ways they go, and others will base it purely on the CV and interview process as their method of screening. Different companies will do different things. Have you been through one of those processes, Lee?
I've been through several with the police, with GE Aviation, Jaguar Land Rover. What some of the Jaguar Land Rover does, they have something like will be a competency-based interview.
Yeah. Yes. And that might be, some of them might be on actual kind of testing exams, or the actual interview is based around assessing competency or your technical knowledge. So different companies will go about different ways to tease out what is your knowledge, skills, and how you behave, or the type of person you are as well. Different things they will be looking for. So yes, as I lost my thread. As I was saying, looking at the activities you do, and this is part of reflecting on what you've learned as well. Kind of looking back and going, what have I developed? Where am I now from where I was before? And is there a way that then I can demonstrate that to an employer by talking about the things that I've done? I'm not going to go through this. This is just the similar things to the knowledge, skills, and behaviours, but it's mapped out from the Engineering Council in terms of knowledge of science and mathematics, engineering analysis, and again, I'll give you the slides so you can read through these. Design, and you recognise some of the things that you're doing already. Economic, social, and environmental context, so your understanding of the aspects that surround the job of an engineer. Engineering practice, and additional general skills, which again move more into the kind of soft skills area, and also kind of planning for learning as you progress through your career. So as you kind of read through these, you'll kind of see some of the things, and you'll kind of pick out, oh yes, I've been doing that, or I'm currently doing that, and it's things that you will continue to do throughout your 3 years. We don't squeeze everything into the first year. Otherwise, it would be pretty intense. But recognising where these exist and how you can tease them out to be able to talk about them or demonstrate them within interviews or a recruitment process. Because sometimes you get some really odd questions in interviews. And having gone through this and understanding how you develop them is a good way to be able to answer those type of questions. When they might ask you to demonstrate your abilities or knowledge in a certain area, you've already kind of thought about how you develop them and where they've been applied. So it makes it easier to answer those questions and demonstrate those things to an employer. Because most of my interviews, I'm having to drag information out of people. Certainly on a graduate level, they've done a degree and there is a wealth of experience and knowledge and skills behaviour that they have accumulated over those 3 years. But if I ask them the question to talk about it, they kind of go, ugh. And they go, oh yeah, I've got good skills in engineering. But if I spend the time probing, which the interviewer will do, and kind of digging, I actually find out that there is a lot of information there. They just haven't really thought about it or reflected about it to be able to talk about it. So you're not always going to get an interview that's going to.
Would you say it is the?
Okay.
I was going to say, David. Would you say it's? I think there's a delay here. Would you say it is the interviewer's responsibility to try and drag that information out?
I think it depends on the interviewer. I think some will kind of look at the ability to talk about your skills and have a bit of self-awareness as a key aspect of what they are looking for. If they have to spend time dragging stuff out of you, they may kind of see that as not worth their while. So it depends on the interviewer and the organisation and how much time they have, and if they had to have one interview where they had to spend 20 minutes digging something out and the other one where they were able to clearly talk about it and were self-aware of what skills and attributes they had and where they had demonstrated them, that may make the difference in recruitment. So all things being equal, the person who presents the better or is more aware would get the job. And again, it does depend on the interview.
It can be a little bit unfair that though, can't it? Because
yeah, absolutely.
It can be a little bit unfair that though, can't it? Because that person who's quiet might have a much stronger mathematical, say, programming base that the company needs, and if an interviewer is not going to try and drag that out of them, then
of course it's a lot unfair. Yeah, and no interviewer or no company is perfect in finding talent. That's why we look to kind of make sure you understand where you have your skills and talents and help you to promote it or be able to talk about it, so that you are not in that position where you have your light hidden under a bushel and you don't get the job because you haven't been able to demonstrate it or talk about it, or they are unaware of it, or you haven't presented it in a way that is clear. But yes, it is unfair, and there's lots of things about recruitment that are unfair in the world, unfortunately, and level playing fields and recruitment. But I won't go into that as a sideline, if you like. But this is about giving you the best opportunity to demonstrate by getting used to being able to talk about this as early as possible and getting used to reflecting on what you've done. Not necessarily, I don't think, about being naturally quiet. Even if you're quiet, you can still look at ways to present to happen, even if you're not very confident in presenting. But it depends what the company's looking for. Are they looking for someone who is, yes, I want someone who's going to sit in a room and be a mathematical genius, and that's fine. I don't mind if they can't talk to anyone, or they have low social skills in other areas or can't work in teams. It depends what they're looking for. So, different ways to present your knowledge, skills, and behaviours. You tell me different ways that you might do that in order that you might be looking to find or get a job.
The computer, you can probably bring a computer, the actual computer that you made, for them to see, like, we gave you the lab. Just talk through them what I did, what the project was about, how I went about doing what I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of a new process.
Yeah,
It would be better. Better pictures.
Yeah. Some companies will be specific. They want you to present something. Quite a lot of companies are now asking for a portfolio, or it's provided as augmented a CV submission to give a better picture of the stuff you've worked on and who you are, if you like. But yes, quite I've been in ones where they've kind of like, yes, present one project that was your favourite you want to talk about as a presentation, so they can one see how you present and engage, and also learn about what kind of skills and knowledge you have within demonstrating through that project and behaviours as well. So, let's go back to the slide. So I'm going to kind of just talk about the engineering portfolio, if you like, which is kind of similar to what Ben was asked to do in terms of present one project. And having an engineering portfolio is a good way to kind of, one, organise your thinking about the knowledge, skills and behaviours that you have developed and can apply, and being able to also, if needed, present that within an interview process, or have it as a resource for employers to look at when you send in your CV or cover letter, or even when you meet someone at a trade show. Because again, quite often some jobs or opportunities come about from conversations you have with people at events. So obviously the online events makes that a little bit difficult, but hopefully when we get into more physical times, going to trade shows, events, talking to companies, you get to then do it in brief, a bit of a chat about your knowledge and skills and behaviours that you think would be of value to that company, should they be looking for a new graduate or summer placement or internship. So in terms of the engineering portfolio, it is basically a PowerPoint presentation, if you think about it as the kind of basic format, and a number of kind of steps in the process. And again, this is just a sample process, like any process, there are variations. But kind of creating your portfolio is something you can start right away. Don't leave it until you've got an interview the next day, because then it's going to be crap and rushed and not right. Or even leaving it to a couple of weeks before. Sometimes you don't have enough time to collect all the information. So collecting the information that you want to present from activities you've done outside of university, within university, modules you've worked on, trying to look back and find out where you'd stored a particular project folder, on which hard drive that you'd put in a drawer somewhere. It can be difficult when you're thinking about it 2 years later. So kind of starting collecting that information now, almost for every project or module or activity you do, gives you a lovely resource when it comes to doing a refined portfolio or presentation. It's already there, and you just need to pick and choose what it is you want. So collecting of that information about a project or a task or activity, understand what knowledge, skills and behaviours you demonstrated within that, and then think about how you're organising it. So in terms of the order, if you have a number of projects, the number and approach is important. You don't want too many. You don't want a presentation
फ्रेंड अभी तक आपने जितना देखा है तो सर एक कंपनी के बारे में इन्होंने बता रहे हैं, और अगर आपको और ज़्यादा इंफॉर्मेशन लेना है तो इस वीडियो को सब्सक्राइब करना। तो मैं यहाँ पर दूसरा मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ, दूसरा लेक्चर। यहाँ से हम पॉज करते हैं और
a bit.
तो फ्रेंड ये जो आप देख रहे हैं
So have you
सारे
attended
स्टूडेंट
the
हैं और जितने
presentation
स्टूडेंट हैं
yesterday
जो सी है
about smart factory?
वो हमारे टीचर है
Yeah.
मैम है सॉरी
Yeah, it was very interesting one.
Any good?
Yeah, but it is very general. It is not.
I preferred the bloke who was talking about security.
Yeah, the security. Yeah, Internet of Things and security. Yeah. This is the problem. When everything becomes smart, anybody can steal your information and hacker your. Because the controller now, in this smart factory working on PLC, programmable logic controller. I think we have a few of them in our lab in the engineering department. So these programs, anybody can hacker them and change them, and of course, any change in these programs will lead to disaster in the factory. For this reason, security is very important if we need to use this type of smart things. Okay, so today our lecture about operational amplifier. So I think any engineer should know what we mean by operational amplifier because it is widely used and it is very important in even sensors and actuators, the drive circuits. What happened? Sorry.
Why is there only 8 of us?
Huh?
Do the others think we've not got a session today? Quite a few people not attending today.
No problem. We are recording this session, so anybody can see this record later. Because this week I need to compensate the last week when I was in sick leave.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we mean by operational amplifier, the basic of operational amplifier. Today we will cover this topic. Basics of operational amplifiers, explain some of its basic parameters, describe how it can be used with negative feedback, and 4 important circuits will be covered also. So this is the operational amplifier, this is the symbol, it is a type of integrated circuit. So inside this integrated circuit we have number of transistors and resistors and capacitors, but the shape or the symbol used for this type of integrated circuit take like a triangle, as you can see. Of course, it is also a type of active component, so it cannot work without biasing, like a transistor, like a diode. So for this reason, you need to use a source because inside it we have already transistors, so transistors cannot work without biasing. For this reason, we have these 2 terminal, plus VS, minus VS, because we have 2 types of transistor inside this integrated circuit. Some of them NPN and some of them PNP. So NPN need for biasing plus VS or positive source, voltage source, and for the PNP we need to bias this type of transistor negative voltage source. It has also 2 inputs and 1 output. V plus, V minus, and we have the V out. V out equal the gain multiplied by the difference between V plus minus V minus. So it is analog because it is not digital, it is work on any voltage. What we mean by analog and digital? Analog, that means your voltage can be 0, can be 0.1, 0.5, 0.35, any value. Digital, as you know, it is like binary. We have only 2 voltage, 0 and plus 5 volt. 0, usually in binary we call it 0 and 1. However, in analog, your voltage can take any number. For this reason, operational amplifier, it is analog integrated circuit, so it can work with any value of voltage.
Also, it is very useful in many applications to work as mathematical, to do or carrying out mathematical operations. For this reason, the name operational amplifier coming from this property. So this type of amplifier can be used as a summer, subtractor, integrator, or differentiator. So for this reason, it is called operational amplifier. Sometimes they call it op-amp, which is the short name. So operational amplifier has two inputs. The negative one we called it inverting input, and the positive one we called it non-inverting input. And as I told you before, we have two sources or two biasing terminal, plus VCC and minus VCC, because inside it we have two types of transistors. Okay, so this VCC can be plus minus 15 volt or can be plus minus 12 volt. Some of them also use plus 5 volt. Okay, so in some circuit, maybe you cannot see these two lines, this one and this one, and they only use a triangle with two input and one output. But it is always available because this operational amplifier is active component and cannot work without connect this component to biasing. Depending on the circuit configuration, other input connection can be connected to either 0 volt or if there is feedback between the input and the output, also we can use it in different. So it can be without feedback. This is without feedback. What we mean by feedback, there is no link between the output to the input. So this is our input side and this is our output. So in this case, we have no feedback, but most of the application we need feedback because using feedback make us able to control the gain of this operational amplifier, and also using this feedback to create different type of circuit like adder, subtractor, integrator, differentiator. Without feedback, we cannot do this. You have any idea about operational amplifier before, or this is the first time?
I covered it on my HNC.
Okay.
I've never seen them before.
Yeah, but I think you saw this symbol before in many circuit diagrams. Yeah, and so today we will cover basic introduction about this type of electronic component, because it is very important also in our sensors and actuators circuit. So for example, if your signal, usually it is called amplifier, that means amplify the signal. If your signal is weak, you can apply this signal here on the input, and the output will be bigger because it is multiplied by the gain of this operational amplifier. So most of the sensor give us very tiny signals, and it is not enough to turn on, for example, actuator. For this reason, operational amplifier should be used to amplify the signal and use it then. So the shape of the operational amplifier, this is the integrated circuit. As you can see, it consists of 8 pins. Start from pin number 1, offset, number 2, inverting the input, which is the negative one, non-inverting number 3, pin number 3, which is the non-inverting input, minus VCC, so 4, it is equivalent to this terminal. It should be connected to minus, for example, 12 volt or minus 15 volt. And again, we have offset, and then 6 the output. So your output here taken from pin number 6. Number 7 should be connected to plus 12 volt or plus 15 volt. And here it is just not used, this one, this pin. So it consists of 8 pins. And this is the shape of the integrated circuit. The offset or offset null terminal allow the output to be readjusted to 0 when both inputs are grounded. So sometimes before you use this partial amplifier, it is better to you need to start from 0 output. So to do that, maybe the output it is not 0. For this reason, you need to short circuit this one or ground it, short them and connect them to the ground, and adjust this offset, this one, until you get 0 at the output, and that make your starting point is correct. So anything after that will be okay. So this is the advantage of this offset terminals. So it is called also 741. So this is the most used integrated circuit and aperture amplifier, 741 integrated circuit. Okay, so what is inside this integrated circuit? As you can see, we have many transistors connected together, and also we have number of capacitors, we have number of resistors. So how many transistors we have here? Approximately 24 transistors. As you can see, some of them PNP and some of them NPN. For this reason, we need two type of biasing, minus V and plus V. Plus V for the NPN and minus V for the PNP. All these circuits are integrated inside this small chip or small integrated circuit, which is called the 741 package. And it includes 8 terminals. These 8 terminals, as you can see, the input one and the offset null, and we have output, and we have 2 terminals, one for plus V and one for minus V. So now you understand why we need 2 type of biasing, plus and minus. So this one, which type of this transistor? Q12.
PNP.
This is PNP. Okay, and what about Q16?
NPN.
NPN. So for this reason, to biasing this type of transistor, I need to connect it to plus VCC or plus 12 volt, for example. And to bias this one, I need to connect it to minus 12 volt or minus 15 volt. So the operation amplifier has many properties. The main 3 important operation characteristics. It has a very high input impedance, typically approximately 1 mega watt, so that it will not load the device that drives it, and hence reduce its own input signal voltage. So our operation amplifier, let me see if it is. This is our operation amplifier, plus, minus. This is called inverting, inverting, and this one non-inverting input, and this is our output. So the relation between output and input, V out equal AV. AV is the gain of the amplifier. This is called gain, which is number time the difference between V2 minus V1. Okay, so this operation amplifier, the input impedance here, it is very high. So Zn impedance, that means it is equivalent to resistor. We call it impedance. So the unit of the impedance is also ohm. So Zn, it is very high. The second property, low output impedance. However, from this side, the output impedance very low, and approximately for the ideal operation amplifier, we can say it is approximately 0. And very high gain. So the gain can be 10 to the power 6, which is 1 million, to give a large output signal for a very small input signal. So the main concept, the main advantage of the operation amplifier amplify our signal. So if our signal here is very tiny, the input and the output will be very, very high. This is without any feedback. So that means there is no link between the output side and the input side. For this reason, the gain in this case is very, very high and can reach 1 million. So that means this factor AV can be 10 to the power 6. Okay. So for this reason, it is not very practical or not very useful. Only use open or without feedback, operation amplifier without feedback. Feedback is better because using the feedback we can control this gain and also use the operation amplifier in different applications.
Could it handle, based on that, can it handle AC then? AC signals?
Yeah, the input is AC and the output is AC. Yeah. The signal gain or voltage gain, we call it AV because it is we are talking about voltage. The input is V1 and out and V2 and output V out. So we are talking about voltage. For this reason, the gain, it is voltage gain. That means you amplify your input by a factor, and this factor, in case we have no feedback, approximately 1 million. So we multiply our output by 1 million, our input by 1 million. So our output equal 1 million of our input. For this reason, it is called amplifier. So voltage gain equal V out divided by Vn. So Vn can be dependent on the connection. As we said, we have two terminal, minus and the plus, and one terminal, one output. So Vn, it is a voltage between these two. So this is our output and this is our input, which is AC. So gain equal V out divided by Vn. The operation amplifier can be, the input can be the difference between this terminal and this terminal, or most of the cases we grounded one of them. So for example, if you grounded the -1, again V out equal or the gain equal V out divided by Vn, but here Vn equal V1. So if we say this is V1 and this is V2, how much V2 now? If I put the ground, if I grounded any circuit,
0.
0. So here equals 0. So for this reason, Vn, it is the difference between V1 minus V2, and in this case equal V1 minus 0, and that gives you only V1. So that means in this case V out divided by V1 equal the gain of this operation amplifier. If I grounded the inverting, the positive to non-inverting terminal like this, and my input coming from the inverting terminal, here this is my V1, this is my V2. V out, in this case V out will be minus. Why minus? Because it is equal AV V2 minus V1. V1 minus V2, sorry. Equal again, voltage gain AV time the difference between this V1, the positive minus the V2, the negative, V1 minus V2. But because we grounded already the positive one, so this one becomes 0. That means your output in this case equal minus AV time V2. Okay, so depending on the input, which one is grounded, which terminal is grounded, which terminal not grounded, and if there are no ground, only the difference between V1 and V2. So this is V1 and this is V2. Okay. The operation amplifier data sheet will contain value of many characteristics. So when you buy any integrated circuit for the operation amplifier.
तो फ्रेंड, अगर आपको ऐसे वीडियो देखना है, अगर आप एक इंजीनियरिंग स्टूडेंट है, तो अगर आपको यह वीडियो अगर अच्छा लगे तो सब्सक्राइब कर देना, बेल आइकन पर क्लिक कर देना, ताकि जैसे कोई मैं वीडियो डालूं आप नोटिफिकेशन गेट कर लें। तो फ्रेंड, क्या होता है कि मैं हमेशा वीकली 2 डेज 3 डेज मैं आपको लाइव सेशन में दिखाऊंगा। बस हमको इतना आइडियाज नहीं था और मेरे पास मोबाइल नहीं था, इसलिए मैंने आपको लाइव सेशन मैंने कभी नहीं दिखाया। बट वी स्टार्टेड माय जर्नी फॉर द लाइव सेशन एंड ऑलवेज आई गिव यू लाइव सेशन। एंड इफ यू गेट more if you wanna get the more videos, then please my subscribe my channel and as well as press the bell icon. Thank you very much.